Hi there, I'm Ciara Whelan and you're welcome once again to Ireland County by County, the programme which explores the sights and sounds, the places to visit, the culture and the food of our country. This time we're back exploring Ireland's ancient east with a visit to the Royal County. This is a land of myth and legend, where prehistoric and ancient history weave seamlessly with busy little towns and thrilling adventure. In the next 30 minutes, I'll be listening to the fascinating story of a monument that dates back longer than even the Great Pyramids. Paying a visit to one of Ireland's best local fresh produce markets. Exploring the castle that has hosted Hollywood. And testing my nerves against Ireland's longest wooden roller coaster. All this amidst the softly rolling hills between the gentle height of Stíomhna in the west to its short seashore in the east. Welcome to County Meath. My first adventure on my trip around Meath has me here in the Bóinne to see the wonderful Boyne boats. With its name rooted in history, the word Bóinne stems from the Celtic queen and goddess of water, Bóinne. In keeping with this strong link with the past, Boyne boats take special pride in using traditional Irish boats. Known as currachs, these boats are made from hazel rods and sally twigs with a single ox hide. I'm starting my trip by stepping off the land and onto a currach. With their use dating back thousands of years, currachs have played a vital role in Irish history, and no one knows better just how iconic they are than brilliant boatmaker and storyteller Ross Kenny here at Boyne Boats. So Ross, where exactly are we now?
We're right in the middle of the Boyne Valley, and right where we are now on the canal is pretty much the crossing point where William crossed the river to engage in battle with King James in the Battle of the Boyne in 1690.
That's probably one of Ireland's most important battles.
In terms of a turning point in history, it's hugely important. It was the defeat of James, so in that sense it led to the Protestant ascendancy in Ireland for a couple of hundred years.
And what about the wildlife?
Underneath us there is a mountain of fish. There's otters, very rare to see, but they are here. And then the bird life, which especially in springtime, the bird noise is just incredible. They're in full voice, and that's quite nice.
And Ross, tell me about Game of Thrones.
Got a phone call from a guy inquiring about renting traditional boats, and that turned out to be the marine coordinator for Game of Thrones.
No way.
Yeah, I ended up then every year after that doing probably average about 6 or 8 weeks on the set of Game of Thrones, and did a lot of the training with the cast. And anything out at sea, there was a good chance that it'd be me or one of the other marine guys in the boats, because they wouldn't send the actors out to sea on their own. So we were the trusted ones to be out there on the boat. So we'd dress up like the actors and go out in the boat.
And what about your boat trips? What can people expect?
A couple of different options, but the main one is on the canal, and then the longer one goes out into the river further up and into the UNESCO World Heritage Area. It's families. We have a fairy land with fairy doors, so we play around a bit with that, get the kids to spot the fairy doors. Everybody gets a paddle. Nobody is left out, so it doesn't matter what age, everyone gets one. How much they use it is up to them. When people first come to me and they first say, they go, oh, do we have to paddle the boat? It's like, yeah. And you give them a paddle and they start paddling, and then they don't want to stop. And even there's times where we stop to have a chat, they won't stop. It's kind of therapeutic in a sense. You just get that feel of it, and you hear the water, and you just want to keep going.
From the water to the soil, I'm leaving Boyne behind to visit the majestic monument dating back over 5,000 years, Newgrange. Part of the Bóinne archaeological complex, Newgrange is easily one of the most impressive Neolithical monuments in Ireland. The monument itself covers an area of nearly an acre, but what makes this passage tomb so special is that the 20-yard stone corridor is aligned with the winter solstice, leading to a precious and intimate moment every year when the rising sun on December 21st slips its light down through the dark to illuminate the incredible burial chamber in the heart of the monument. Newgrange here at World Heritage Site Bóinne really is the jewel in the crown of Ireland's ancient East. It is stunning, and as you get up close, it's hard to get your head around the fact that it was built by Stone Age farmers back in 3200 BC. Let's chat to Leontia to find out more. Leontia, we're in beautiful Bóinne. Tell me about this place.
It literally means Palace of the Bóinne or Residence of the Bóinne. It's actually one of 3 World Heritage Sites on the island. Within it we have, of course, the monuments of Newgrange, Naus and Douse.
And tell me about Newgrange.
It's 5,000 years old, so it was built during the Stone Age by the first settled farmers in Ireland using only stone and bone tools.
And what is it?
We could call it A, a cathedral of the Stone Age, and B, it's known in archaeological terms as a passage grave, and it literally is that. You have a small narrow passage. In the case of Newgrange, it's just over 20 metres long, leading into a chamber in the shape of a cross. So you have a central chamber with 3 small recesses leading off it. And in each of these recesses were placed the cremated remains of the dead.
So you probably have to be pretty special to be buried in there.
Up until the last 2 years, we speculated exactly who was buried in Newgrange. But due to recent DNA analysis, we now know and can confidently say that it was the elite of the day that were buried within Newgrange.
Did we always know that the monument was here?
It was always something on the landscape, but in 1699, the doorway was rediscovered. And it was just simply by accident, I suppose. It would have been known to be a local handy source of stone. And stone was being removed from the site here, and those removing the stone happened upon the entranceway.
There was always old wives' tales about this area, and they did turn out to be true.
Fortunately in Ireland, there's more monuments protected by superstition than by legislation. So people were reluctant to go inside.
It's an incredible feat of engineering, but we also know that there was huge artistry involved.
There are 3 stones at Newgrange that are renowned. One is the entrance stone behind me, another is number 52 at the back, and number 67 over here at the side. And they really are magnificent pieces of sculpture. And again, bear in mind that this art was carved using simply bone and stone tools.
Was there meaning behind the art?
The most common interpretation is again a belief in an afterlife, in particular the spiral, life, death and rebirth. And the spiral is of course a symbol you'll find used by every ancient culture.
Leaving the amazing Bóinne behind, I'm off next to the sumptuous farming market at Rock Farm, Slane, just a little bit south of here. Situated further upstream along the River Bóinne, the market here at Rock Farm is nestled against the quaint town of Slane. With Meath's famously fertile soil all around, the nearby farms are some of the best farms in the country. And with the best farms comes the best produce. I've come further upstream along the River Bóinne now to the picturesque town of Slane, home to Slane Castle and the Cunningham family since 1703. The history here is vast, but I'm going to be chatting to Karina about the local Boyne Valley produce and what the future holds. Karina, tell me about the farm itself.
The farm itself is 120 acres organic, and then we have a wider area where we grow barley for the whisky at the distillery. And on the farm we have a traditional mixed farm, which really suits an organic system because it's in rotation constantly. And we farm native Dexter cattle, outdoor pigs, so all the kind of traditional rare breeds. And we have chickens for eggs, and then we have a veg patch as well, where we grow all our vegetables. We're only 6 kilometres from Newgrange, and we're just the other side of the river from Slane Castle, so we knew that there were tourism opportunities, and we wanted to create like a food hub and a place where people could come and enjoy organic food. Last year, my husband and I took on the running of Slane Castle as well, so we've now got an even bigger building in the kind of portfolio of what we're doing, and I guess we'll be opening the hay barn for kind of more pop-up dining events alongside the market. And over time, we want to become a kind of foodie destination for people to come in and stay and enjoy the ingredients from the land.
Karina's husband Alex grew up on the grounds of Slane Castle, which now produces their very own Slane Irish whiskey. It's very very rock and roll, Alex, drinking whiskey in the middle of a field, only in Ireland.
Yeah.
You did grow up in the home of rock and roll in Ireland.
I did, yeah. Slane Castle's the family home. I'm living there now with the kids, and I've got a distillery beside me, so life ain't too bad, I suppose.
The distillery is your fault though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I started that with Dad, and one of the reasons we got into the game, because whiskey and rock and roll obviously go well together.
And you had the best backstage pass of anyone in the country. Who played the castle?
We've had Dylan, Bowie, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then our most recent one was Metallica. That was certainly live and loud. We had U2 live with us for a while and record an album in our dining room. And then lots of backstage stories. Unfortunately, I can't repeat those ones, but yeah.
What makes the distillery here so unique?
We'd be unique in that we have access to 1,500 acres here, so we'd really be the only distillery that would have the capacity to grow as much barley as we do. And we have different soil types here on the farm, so the terroir of the Boyne Valley will ultimately end up shaping the flavour of the whiskies.
Amazing. Whoa, cheers to that.
Sláinte.
Sláinte. Next, I'm off to Bellinter House, an 18th century country estate nestled along the Boyne River. Bellinter House was built in 1750 for wealthy brewer John Preston, whose family used it for over 2 centuries as a working estate and a country retreat. Today, as a hotel, the house and gardens are still the perfect escape, especially for couples who come from all over the world to celebrate their big day. Denise, Bellinter House and its beautiful grounds. Tell me about the hotel.
It's a relatively new hotel, even though the building is 250 years old. It was owned by the nuns and converted as a hotel in 2006. Every room is very individual. There's no 2 rooms the same. And we have a lovely outdoor hot tub. We have walk down to the river where we have fishing rights from bridge to bridge on the River Bóinne, and we have a lovely wedding venue.
Tell me about the weddings. They must be pretty special.
We do the weddings under the main tree in the summer, and it is absolutely spectacular. It's a real fairy tale, and we have a lovely little bandstand out the back. The trees are all lit up with fairy lights, and that's where we do our first dance.
Now, one thing that's very important to a wedding is, of course, the food, and the food here is amazing.
We have our own pastry kitchen, and everything from bread to scones to every dessert is made on site. The brown bread here is to die for. It's the best brown bread I've tasted.
And tell me about the building itself.
The building itself was the last building to be designed by Richard Castle, who designed Leinster House, Carlton House, Powers Court House, Rusper House, and he designed this house for John Preston. You can see some similarities through it. For instance, the spiral staircase. There was a bet, because going back 200 years ago, there was a bet that John Preston would ride the horse up the spiral staircase, and he took the bet. He rode the horse up the spiral staircase, which was great, but the horse wouldn't come back down. They had to build a special shaft that took 3.5 weeks to get the poor horse down.
It's a Georgian building, but it's a bit cool nowadays, isn't it?
It's very different. It's not what you'd expect in an old Georgian house. It has the modern twist and the quirky twist to it. Some people say, what's the artwork about? And, you know, you have to tell them, you know, what it's about.
The hotel has a lovely American connection as well.
Yes, it was bought in 2016 by a syndicate of investors, a couple of Irish, and 3 Americans have now fallen in love with Bellinter and is bringing America to Bellinter. We're Bellinter House and we're a Bellinter team, and there's a Bellinter way, and our welcome and our service is what we're very proud of, along with our food.
Bellinter House is just one of many great places to stay in County Meath, which range from luxury hotels to cosy guest houses and even glamping in yurts along the riverside. Check out discoverboynevalley.ie for a comprehensive list of accommodation. Leaving Bellinter House relaxed and ready for my next adventure, I'm continuing my direction west to Fordstown and the lovely, family-friendly Causey Farm. Offering the really fun and informative Irish for a day experience, Causey Farm have a wealth of activities, from the typical farm ones like turf cutting and milking a cow to cultural ones like ceilidh dancing. I'm here to try my hand at baking some soda bread and playing the bowron. My favourite thing about Causey Farm is that it's full of surprises. Hello, Gloria. Here. Deirdre, I think when I think of Irish farmers, I think of a lone man in a field by himself. That's not the vibe here at all, is it?
No, not really. We love to party, I think, in our family. So we love inviting people to kind of experience life in an Irish farm. Anything from the baking that you did to dancing an Irish dance, playing the barron, meeting the animals.
It's a real family affair. You grew up here.
My parents bought this farm in 1964 and I came along a few years later. And we've been so blessed to start off very, very small with primary school tours and gradually grow the business. So we've welcomed people from all over the world. Huge numbers from North America, of course, England, France. My French is a lot better now than it was when I was at school learning it, because we get quite a few French groups. Germans, all over Europe, even Australia, as far away as Australia, and quite a few Chinese visitors as well now.
And what do people like most when they visit?
They love the interaction like everybody else, and the hands up, and the personal achievement of making bread and learning a dance or learning to play the drum. But there's also this huge connection for so many visitors that they might have an Irish connection. But even people that are third, fourth, fifth generation, it just gives them a sense of getting back to how life was, because in a sense farming life hasn't changed that much, and the music is definitely still the same, you know. And even the brown bread that we make, that's really traditional Irish bread and has been made for centuries here.
Part of the experience of visiting an Irish farm is, of course, the Irish soda bread.
Yes, indeed. And for that we use brown flour or wheat meal, or whole wheat flour it's called in some places. Just a half teaspoonful of salt and a level teaspoonful of bread soda. And then we mix that and put lots of air in. If you don't put the air in, as I was saying, it doesn't rise. It's like a brick.
That's the secret ingredient.
It is
the
secret,
air.
and in fact it's the magic. It really is if you don't do it. And then you add 2 eggs and a cup and a half of buttermilk. Cup and a little bit of buttermilk.
Really straightforward, and I do love the fact here that you don't demonstrate it at all. You have to make it
no,
yourself.
Everybody makes their own bread, and it's such a lovely feeling to have lunch maybe and enjoy your own bread with it. You know, it does make a huge difference.
Now, part of farming as well is, you know, after you come in from the fields and you've got the music and dance. Tell me about that.
We were one of these families that were quite involved in music. Not that we didn't even play, but we loved set dancing and ceilidh dancing and all of that. We grew up without a TV, so I'm not sure if this is the screen-free systems of parenting that worked. So we were really involved in the kind of old-fashioned culture, but actually everybody, the neighbours, everybody all came into our house as well. And so we've just continued that culture.
Leaving the west of Meath behind, I'm turning back southeast to just outside the small, quaint town of Trim, where lies the amazing Boyne Blueway. At this point of the stunning River Boyne, the water flows with such lazy softness that a kayaker of any standard can float along with the gentle current. Hopeful to keep out of the wet, I'm here to try my hand at paddling down this majestic river. James, you're a local man from Trim. It's a lovely town, isn't it?
It is, yeah. The river itself flows straight through the middle of the town. There's more medieval buildings in Trim than there is in any town in Ireland, and that has all come from the river, come from the point that people were able to get off the river here. You know, even from the medieval times, like this was just downriver where we're standing is where the Normans came from, where the Christians came from. They all got out here and they wanted to hang out in Trim when it was a great space.
I love the fact that the River Boyne has been used for thousands of years and you're still making the most of it.
We feel it's completely still underused. We know that once we have an offering here that people can actually just come and hop on, it's going to be of a huge benefit to the town and to the people visiting.
And what is a Blueway?
It's a water activity trail, essentially, is a simple way to put it. It's more user-friendly. It's the same stretch of water. There's more signage, there's more information boards, there's more accessibility, more so. So there's easy areas to get on and get off the water. And there's on the water signage to tell you where you are, so how far away you are from places.
So I can picture what a beginner looks like going down the river, but what do the experts look like?
The wave up at the top here is again, it's designed so that it holds the water in. So as it drops over a load of coin stones, it turns back up in itself. So the play boaters and the enthusiasts, they can get in and the boat will actually suck their boat back in and they can start surfing and doing loads of energetic things that us owl lads can't do anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can walk the banks of the Bóinne all day long and looking into the river, but when you're on it looking out, everything just has a different perspective on it. So, and that's the beauty of it. And it's straight through the centre of the town, so you're both sides of it, which is good.
Out of the water but not going far, I'm venturing into the town to see the iconic Trim Castle. Although it's nestled cosily inside the town, Trim Castle is anything but snug. Set on 3 acres, it's 3 stories tall, it has 20 sides, 3-metre thick walls and a moat. It was built for defence and today remains one of the most impressive Anglo-Norman castles in Ireland. Let's chat to David to find out more. David, this place is incredible, isn't it? Such a huge amount of history in Trim and obviously Trim Castle.
It's the largest and one of the first castles ever built in the country during the Norman invasion. So we're talking 1169 when the Normans came. So it's a couple of years after that when this was started to be built.
Tell me about Hugh de Lacy.
Hugh de Lacy's family would have descended from a place in France in Normandy called Lacy, hence the name de Lacy. And then his ancestors would have come over with William the Conqueror in 1066 invaded England. They built up a large base in the Welsh Marches, as it's known. He came over then with Henry II in 1171, and he would have been granted the Kingdom of Meath by Henry to do his bidding for him over here. After the 2 generations of the de Lacys, Hugh and then later on Walter, the castle went in and out of royal hands, so it wasn't really one lord in charge. From 1981 to 93, just before the government bought, this whole area inside the castle walls and outside the castle walls was a pitch and putt course.
No way!
The hardest hole was chipping from the river onto the Bailey, just down there.
I think it's incredible just sitting here wondering what it was like back then.
In medieval times, you would have expected a lot different. Try and imagine that as a white structure, which it would have been. It would have been plastered, rendered. It would have also, we believe, whitewashed. You would have had a small town community inside the castle grounds. They would have had their own blacksmiths, their own bakers, coopers for making barrels, fletchers for making arrows. And they would have had plots of land for animals, cows, pigs, sheep. They would have had vegetable plots, herb gardens, all within inside the castle walls. It was meant to also put the fear of God in anybody who was thinking of maybe attacking it. Nothing like that had been seen in this country before.
When you're describing the place, it almost feels like it looked like a movie, and actually they have shot movies here.
They have. They gave the rights for the Braveheart movie to be made here back in 1994 with Mel Gibson.
That must have been amazing for the local community, was it?
It brought a lot of interest to the town, and it brought a lot of work to the town as well. And we still have an awful lot of visitors come to the castle because of the connection. Now, of course, we have lots of other history, but that was more recent. So, of course, a lot of people come around because of it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me today.
My pleasure.
Other historic sites not to miss in Meath include the Loch Crew Cairns near Old Castle and the Spire of Lloyd in Kells. From Trim to Tara, I'm continuing my way back east to the seat of royalty of Old Ireland. Dating back to the Neolithic era around 3000 BC, the Hill of Tara has always occupied a special place in Irish myth and history. Believed to be the home of the old gods, the Tua De Danann laid their sacred Leofoil stone of destiny here. And as the home of the High Kings of Ireland, the 5 ancient roads all began their roots from Tara. It is impossible to overstate the significance of the Hill of Tara to Ireland. So meaningful and personal to Irish culture that Irish men made camp here during the 1798 rebellion. And Daniel O'Connell held a key protest here in support of Home Rule. It really was the true capital of Ireland before the English invasion. To finish my trip around the county, I'm heading to Kilbrew, where can be found one of Meath's most exhilarating treasures, Tayto Park. Since its opening in 2010, it has quickly become a leading tourist attraction on the island, averaging over 500,000 visitors per year. From its 25-yard high climbing wall to its wide range of speedy roller coasters, there is something here for everyone. And personally for me, there's a thrilling Cú Chulainn ride, Ireland's only wooden roller coaster. Before I show you around our final stop in County Meath, I have a little bit of translating to do. Here in Ireland, we eat French fries, but we call them chips, and we eat chips, but we call them crisps. And we happen to have some of the best crisps in the world. So good, we've dedicated our biggest amusement park to them. This is Tato Park, and that's the Cú Chulainn. Let's give it a go. The biggest wooden roller coaster in the whole of Europe. It'll be fine. I knew it was big. I did not think it would be that fast. Oh my. And that's it for our visit to magnificent County Meath. Join us next time as we continue our journey through Ireland, county by county.
Ireland County by County is brought to you in part by Discover Boyne Valley, Ireland's Department of Foreign Affairs, the National Parks and Wildlife Services, Board Bia, the Irish Food Board, the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage.
CIE Tours, sharing the magic of Ireland for nearly 90 years.